I think this is such a strong competition. You just got to look at the level of performance that's taken place throughout the whole duration of the competition. To have 4 athletes in any sort of world final is a fantastic achievement, and something that we're really happy about. But our focus was always on, with this competition, was always on performance. It was always building towards the bigger picture. You know, we've got Asian Games coming up, we've got Olympic Games coming up, and it was our first opportunity to really, I suppose, see our athletes on the big stage, and see how they handle that pressure, especially being in India. You know, it comes with an added, I suppose, incentive on one part, but also an added pressure and anxiety on the other. And that's a great experience for these athletes, especially there's a lot of young athletes who are in the group. And I think right across the whole team, they perform. They really have, you know, and they're great to work with. But also the other athletes who are a bigger part of the camp. Like, our job is to continuously challenge and stimulate and help improve our athletes.
Coach, so how has been your experience working with this group of talented Indian boxers, and especially when you had joined, what was your first impression of Indian boxing over the period, over these 8-9 months? What changes that you have brought to the Indian team, to this sport? So can you take us through?
I suppose the biggest thing we've been looking at is just the structure around training. Athletes getting a better understanding of I suppose, of who they are and what their strengths are. We're not just attack. As you can see with the way our athletes have performed, there's now a thought process put into how they I suppose, initiate their plan when they get into a ring. India has never lacked heart. It doesn't lack hard work. And I suppose what we're trying to bring is that little bit more understanding of the, I suppose, little small changes within the program, in terms of like reducing the load, making sure our athletes aren't, you know, too tired coming into competition. And I think if you were to speak with the athletes, they would clearly say that they feel a lot of pressure. Performances demonstrate that. But real structure around our training. You know, if our morning session is running, the focus is on making sure we get the best out of our running session. That does not anything else that's a distraction. So we have very clear goals going into every training session, and it's individualised around our own athletes.
Bernard, first of all, congratulations on a very good performance here. Just wanted to know, you have brought a different system of selection for this tournament. Indian boxers are more used to the selection trials. How do you think the group, you know, while that system was going on in the camp, how did the group take that, the entire selection process?
The big part for us throughout all that process was giving clarity to the athletes. So speaking to them on a regular basis around why we were doing what we were doing. So trials is the old system that was in place, but that's only one moment. And that's 3 minutes where, you know, judges and referees get to sit down and, you know, you select a winner. Whereas with the system that we've brought in terms of assessment, you have the coaches and myself who work with the athletes day in, day out. And it's not one moment. It's based over a period of time when athletes get that. So, God forbid an athlete got sick the day before a trial. What do they do? But if in the assessment piece, you know, it's not 1 week, it's not 1 day, it's over a number of weeks, and it allows those who best know the athletes and actually can see the data around who's performing, who's not performing, and who at this moment in time is the best selection. It doesn't mean that they're always going to be the best selection. They've got to come back in and reprove themselves. We've got to make sure that they continue to raise their level, and what we see within the system is actually our level of performance keeps going up and up and up, because nobody rests because thinking I'm number one, I'm an automatic pick. Actually no, you're getting challenged, you know, and all that time you're getting an increase in performance right across the system, and that's what we're looking for. And the second piece from it is it actually normalises the pressure and normalises the anxiety that comes with competition, because all of a sudden within our own high performance system, they're constantly being watched. They know they're being evaluated. They know they're being assessed. So they're constantly pushing. They're constantly challenging themselves and being under that pressure and that expectation. And then the competition then becomes normalized. The anxiety, the pressure, something that only happens once every so often when you go to a competition, now becomes an everyday part of life. So then competition becomes normalized. The pressure, the challenge that comes with that, the having to perform, because they're having to perform all the time in the gym.
Rajita?
Some of the boxers have said here that it will take some time to adapt and tweak the techniques to the new things that you and the new coach Dimitri is telling them.
Yes.
Yeah. So being an important Olympic qualifying year, do you think these boxers will be able to evolve to the product that you want up to like the Asian Games?
Sorry, could you repeat that question?
So a lot of boxers have said that it will take some time to adapt and tweak the techniques based on the things that you and the new coach Dimitri have been telling them. So since this is an Olympic qualifying year, you have the Asian Games, which is Olympic. So do you feel these boxers would be closer to the finished product that you want up to the Asian Games, or it'll take a bit more time?
Every day they're improving. You know, you look at some of the performance that took place here, like Nikat, you know, obviously Lovelina and Sweetie, we all recognise those. But you look at Jasmine, you look at Pretty beat a world silver medalist, beat the #1 seed. You know, she's 19 years of age, and the growth that will come there, like the challenge in her weight division here is huge. You know, so we do have some depth within the group, and it's their job to keep challenging. Everything gets reset, but my job and Dimitri's job is to make sure that we adapt to the athletes. You know, we adapt to their style and try to bring in 1 or 2 small changes that's going to help them going forward. We're not going from, you know, night to day. That's not what we're trying to do, because these athletes come into the system, they've got talent. They've already shown that they can perform at a high level. Our job is just to add 1 or 2 little tweaks, more on the structure and the process by how we perform, making sure we do analysis in the correct way, really listen to our sports scientists and making sure we're using that data in the best way to inform how we train our athletes. And they're just small things that we do that have no real change on the athletes' technical pieces. But what they have a huge change on is the performance benefits, and they're the piece that we're making sure we bring in correctly.
Jonathan?
So congratulations, coach, on the performance so far.
Sorry, I can't hear you, Jonathan.
First of all, congratulations on the performance.
Thank you.
And also, there are a couple of athletes who are close to the same weight division, which is going to be an Olympic weight division. What's the road forward to them? Because everyone obviously wants to go for the Olympics at the end of it. Will you be encouraging them to move to an Olympic weight division, or?
So you talk about athletes in non-Olympic weight divisions?
Yeah, more close to an Olympic weight division.
Okay.
So like 75 and 81, or 48 and 50, 52 and 50.
Well, they will have that opportunity after the World Championships. So I've already expressed this to all the athletes. Again, biggest part for me is making sure that I communicate correctly with my team, and that they understand the way we're thinking and what we want to happen for them and how we believe that they can progress and move forward. So yes, we've had that conversation with them. Some of them will change weights. Some of them may not want to change weights, and that's also perfectly fine. So we want to empower our athletes. So I want my athletes to own their careers. That's really important for me. So you want them to own their careers, but I also want them to be accountable then in the end for what they actually do in the gym. And that's why assessment really becomes pivotal, because all of a sudden you're holding them accountable. So these are the markers that we set, you know, and actually you haven't improved, you haven't changed, or you've regressed. You know, when we have those conversations.
Just one follow-up question.
Yeah, go ahead.
We'll come back to that. One more?
Thank you. In fairness, I haven't done anything in the ring. It's the athletes who have informed, and they've been fantastic. And I have to say, for me, it's been a true pleasure to watch them. It's been nerve-wracking because it was so much easier when I was fighting myself. So much easier when I was fighting myself to actually just get in, because I was in control. My problem is when they get into the ring, I actually become powerless. So they're the guys that do all the performing, and my life is easier at this stage. So I don't take any punches, so I'm okay.
So when you first arrived, you said it's all about boxers recognizing themselves and fighting the purpose.
Yeah.
How well have they taken that idea, and the biggest challenges that you have faced in the last 4-5 months since you arrived here?
I suppose the biggest challenges I face is just some of the decisions I've had to make, especially around selection. So for instance, you've 12 athletes who've got to participate in the World Championships. I had 24 athletes that I had to disappoint. So I'm making 12 people happy, but I'm also telling 24 people, okay, we need more from you, and these are the things that we're looking for. So that's really difficult to do, I suppose, but as a leader, they're the decisions I've got to make. And I want to make sure, my sole focus is making sure I pick the best team to represent India. That's my sole focus. I have no allegiance to anybody, I have no bias towards any state, factory or job or whatever it may be. So I come here with a very clear focus on making sure I pick the best. And if you're the best, you'll be the one that gets picked. So I'm very honest with all the athletes, and I tell them this. It's up to you to show me. It's up to you to show the coaches. It's up to you to demonstrate to us that I'm your one to pick. I'm your one to pick. Again, I'll go back to Pretty. I think Pretty got beat pre-quarterfinals in the Nationals. Pretty ended up being, the number one and performed here and exceptionally well here at the World Championships. She's got to go again now, so she's got to reset and refocus, and that new challenge then starts. And it's the same for all the athletes.
Coach.
Yes, sir.
Basically, the question is that are you going to continue with this assessment test process? So your selection trials are a thing of past, and Indian boxing you will continue with the assessment test. And why I'm asking this, because looking at one particular category, there is a problem of plenty, because 50 kg is a little crowded. You have Neetu, then Nikhar, then Sakshi, Manjurani, of course. So, and there's an Olympic weight category, and you have so many talented boxers around Neetu and all. So that's a problem of plenty.
That's a great challenge to have. And they're the tough decisions I've got to make. So do you know what? We could be having a whole different story here where we've only got one athlete in the weight division, and we're not. Selection becomes easy, whereas when we've got multiple athletes, that's the problem, and that's a good problem that I want to have.
And you will continue with the assessment test. No selection trials.
There's no plan for any selection trials, in my opinion.
Jonathan?
Just wanted to. You discuss with the athletes where they are and where they need. Do you have some sort of numbers or something where you can tell them, this is where you are, this is where you need to be, or how exactly?
Well, you've got to work. So we do have some very objective measures that are within the system, and the selection policy and the assessment is up on the website, and it's there for everybody to see. So there's openness around what we do, and that's really important. But from a technical perspective, from a boxing perspective, we've got to adapt to the athlete. So my style, I was very technical in my day, but I'm not going to impose my style on to any athlete. If my athlete is an aggressive fighter, I need to make sure that I give whatever instructions or whatever help or assistance I give is based around improving her style or his style. It's not about making them into one style of boxing. We look to create universal styles with our athletes, and that's the big picture for us, is that our athletes can adapt and change within contests themselves.
Last two questions.
Yeah.
How will be the run-up to the Asian Games? What will you plan for the Asian Games?
What's the, sorry?
Yeah, in the build